Manjari ma'am, shall we start?
Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Asif sir, shall we start, sir?
Okay, madam. Okay. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good morning to all the professors connected here. Happy to meet you all on the fourth day of the 7 days webinar series on quality enhancing strategies to confront the challenges of the revised assessment and accreditation process of NAC, organized by IQAC of Erode Arts and Science College. Today we have with us an expert speaker who has got very rich experience in addressing topics related to NAC process. And of course, sir is a well-wisher of our institution. And his sir is Dr. T. Asif Ahmed from Mehrul Ulum College, Ambur, who will be addressing on designing e-content and acquainting with OERs. It's open educational resources. I now invite Dr. P. Sri Manjari, Assistant Professor of Computer Science and member of IQAC of Erode Arts and Science College, to welcome the gathering and introduce the resource person. Madam, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Very happy morning to all of you and warm greetings on behalf of IQAC and my own behalf. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome you all to fourth day webinar series on designing e-content and acquainting with OER, Open Educational Resources. First, I warm welcome most respected Secretary and Correspondent, Swadhani Chemmal Thiru K.K. Balaswamy sir, and most respected our beloved Principal, Dr. R. Venkatachalam sir. Welcome you, sir. I extend warm welcome most respected Dr. M. Venkatachalam sir, Controller of Examinations. Welcome you, sir. Hearty welcome to esteemed resource person of today's webinar, Dr. T. Ashif Ahmed, Assistant Professor of Economics, Mehrul Ulum College, Ambur, Tirupattur District. Welcome you, sir. And I welcome to various Department of HODs and IQAC Coordinator, Dr. S. Jayasudha. Welcome you, ma'am. I welcome to IQAC members and various participants in our college and other colleges. Once again, I warm welcome to all. It gives me a great pleasure to introduce the today's chief guest, Dr. T. Ashif Ahmed sir, has more than decades as a teaching experience with good research experience. He has 45 seminars and conferences that presented and have received 5 awards. He has acted as IQAC member and NAC committee, NSS program officer, member of examination cell, career guidance and placement cell. He has been currently acting as member of research committee, member of board of studies in Islamic College and Tiruvalluvar University, Vellore. He has acted as resource person in external expert of IQAC at various colleges and for our college during the academic year 2017 and 18. Once again, I warm welcome you, sir. Now, I would like hand over the session to Dr. T. Ashif Ahmed, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, madam. Can you hear me? Shall I start?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Most revered Director of Erode Arts and Science College, through K.K. Balaswamy Ayya. Most respected Principal of this renowned institution, Dr. Venkatachalam. And most active and innovative IQAC coordinator, organizing secretary of this wonderful webinar, Dr. Jayasudha and IQAC team, and most eminent resource person and my co-speakers, Dr. B. Vanitha, Professor and Head Department of Economics, Bharatiyar University, Dr. Sendil Nathan, Director, UGC HRDC Center, Bharathidasan University, Tiruchirappalli, and Dr. R. Bhaskar, University Coordinator, University NSS Coordinator, Bharatiyar University, and Dr. Robinson from Madras Christian College, and Dr. Gobinath from Tirupattur, and Mr. Jagannathan from Sivagasi, and dear webinar participants, good morning to all of you. So before I start, I would like to thank the principal, the dynamic and innovative principal, a senior faculty in the field of economics, Dr. Venkatachalam, and innovative IQAC coordinator, Dr. Jayasudha, for inviting me as a resource person to this webinar on quality enhancing strategies to confront the challenges of revised accreditation assessment framework of NAC. And also I like to thank Dr. Sri Manchari for a brief introduction about me. I would like to pray Almighty God to make this webinar a great success. This webinar session is about designing e-contents and introducing it with open educational resources. Dear participants, today we are going to discuss about design and the standards of e-content and reusability of e-contents. And also I would like to pin on open educational resources as our IQAC coordinator Jayasudha ma'am asked me to accounting the concept of open educational resources. Dear participants, as we know that Indian higher education system is the world's third largest one and witnesses a remarkable increase in the number of universities, institutions and colleges since independence. As of 2020, India has over 1,000 universities, which includes 50 central universities, 402 state universities, 124 deemed universities, 334 private universities, and 7 institutes under State Legislature Act, and 155 institutes of national importance, which include IIM, IIT, and NIT. We have. So, due to over dependence of traditional teaching learning methods, the quality in higher education system is plagued with rote learning, lack of employability, skill development. And we notice that in the prestigious QS World Ranking in the year 2020, only 3 Indian universities, IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, have been included in the top 200 institutes. So the recent survey also revealed that the present state of technology in Indian higher education institute is not good enough to effectively use technology in education. So my opinion is that rather simply lecturing the material, the students, we should enhance the students' creativity, allow the student to use technology and to develop their original ideas and thoughts. Professors also come forward to use technology in their teaching process. We know that. So Google and KPMG estimated that Indian edutech sector will be nearly worth of 2 billion, equivalents to 13,790 crores by 2021. Dear Professor, while there remain some areas of improvement we need to have, like university web portals, college web portals should be updated. Sorry to say that in some colleges in Tamil Nadu, not even updated the list of faculty members and their profiles. And we should improve the access to digital libraries, improve the academic infrastructures, facilitate to access the digital libraries, laboratories, and give proper training to the faculty members instead of convincing them to adopt changes in their teaching learning process. And today, the entire world is moving rapidly towards digitalization. We know that institutions are expecting technology-based administrations. Students are expecting technology-based learning, and now teachers also moving to digital teaching process. So Bill Gates rightly said, the use of technology coupled with a bold decision can help India and leapfrog into inclusive growth and improve the quality of education and health. So technology in the education sector facilitates a deeper understanding of the subjects and helps a student gain a fresh perspective. So the COVID-19 pandemic has exposed the teachers and learners to multi modes of teaching learning process that witnessed new avatars in education system. So unlike the regimented teachers-led classes, the learners navigate on their own and matching their cognitive potentials and patience. So, but disappointingly, the brick and mortar institution kept this influence out. However, the students will patience and metaphors for better learning system. So in digital era, students welcome technology-based educations and believe that it has played a vital role in improving the quality of education. So the Netherlands now they demand innovative practice in higher educations that is rooted to their demands and aspirations, and they feel that learning is their responsibility, not just confined to physical space of a college and books available in the library. So, dear participants, the online and open education world now is changing the way education is delivered. In the next decade, e-learning is projected to grow and improve the quality of online education. But this shift needs to be shaped by the academicians, by the researchers, and the policymakers. So, in order to ensure technology is used efficiently and effectively. So, the impact of new technology will shape the way students learn and collaborate and engage with their educations. So, we need to change the interior architecture of learning space as well as the adoption of new technologies for the researchers and research scholars to share their research. Only, say for example, only expecting online teaching learning without technology-based architectures of learning spaces and gadgets is meaningless. I believe that. So first we need to change the teaching learning environment, then go for online education. So nowadays we can, if you adopt technology in education, easily you can track the data on their students as never before. So where previously the only blend measures available were attendance and results of classroom. Nowadays you can track the students' engagement in online discussion groups and their mastery of topics through self-assessed online quizzes, and even the amount of time they spent in the library you can track through their sweep cards entry. So through its history, we came to know that higher education has experimented with the technological advance as diverse as the blackboard and the personal computers. Now some technologies replaced as more sophisticated or more cost-effective technologies have emerged that have been under scrutiny in in the light of both affordance, recent technological development offers, and increase complex challenges that are placed on future generations. Dear participants, educationists remarked that if computer can replace the teachers, so be it. My dear faculty members, I think this is the right time to update ourselves to survive in the education market. If we fail to do that, we will be kicked back and replaced by the computer. Dear participants, I know that despite all these things, many professors have struggled with disruption that device can bring and had their work negatively impacted or have not used technologies effectively. And many pre-service faculty members preside for introducing new technologies as a future teaching barrier. Not all students, all faculty members use computer at home or frequently users have sufficient data or internet access. There is a digital divide of reduced computer literacy in education uh, among the teachers, among the students from indigenous, lower socioeconomic and regional rural backgrounds. So this that creates challenges for college teachers if they have to set different tasks for different students, or if they avoid setting homework with a digital component. So, dear participants, there is no single technological solution that applies for every teachers, every coursework, or every view of teachings. But integrating technology in the education sector is a complex one, varied process for many college teachers. So, if you go through the recent statistics, we came to know that India's e-learning market is the second largest one after US, which is forecasted to grow by 15.64% and exceed $48 billion by 2020. So the online education market in India was valued at 39 billion in 2018 and expected to grow 360.3 billion by 2024 and expanding at a CAGR of 43.85% during the year 2019 to 2014 period. I think easy of learning, flexibility, and a wide range of study material have influenced the overall growth of industry, overall the growth of online education industry. Owing to all these factors, both job seekers and working professionals feel a need to gain, refresh, or enhance skills through career advancement courses. So they feel that such courses could increase their chance of landing better jobs, get promotions, and stay industry relevant. So that's why online career courses are now affordable, give hands-on knowledge. They can be done anywhere, anytime, at one's convenience. So that's why developing and designing e-contents are indispensable in today's scenario. Let's see how to design e-content. Dear participants, please wait, I will show my screen. So, dear participants, in digital era, e-content is becoming popular because of its flexibility, place, and pace of learning. 15 to 20 years back, we used to spend time in the library for information in books, magazines, and journals. We know that. For we spend plenty of hours for collecting, a review of literatures for our research work. நிறைய முறை நம்ம வந்து லைப்ரரியில நம்ம உட்காந்துருப்போம். ஒரு நாளைக்கு 3 hours 4 hours நம்மளுடைய ஹலோ can you hear me? Hello.
Yes sir, you're audible. So 15 to 20 years back, we used to spend our time in the library for information in books and magazines and journals. I'm audible? Hello?
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Okay. So now students feel that textbooks are too expensive and feel bored in reading books. We know that. So that's why they are switching to digital course materials. So I believe that quality of teaching and students' learning are determined by only teachers. Well-trained teachers with the required knowledge, required skills, and commitment can develop scientific and critical thinking of the students. And also, the teacher can promote, can improve the thinking power of the students. So promote tolerance and develop cultural and social values in the teachers also can be also determined by teachers. So dear participants, innovative technologies will make it possible to achieve this by providing new ways to teachers. But these new technologies are placing more demands on teachers to learn how to use them in their teaching process or students.
Sir, your voice is breaking.
Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Sir, your voice is a little bit low and breaking, sir.
Hello?
Clear one, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, continue, sir.
So proceed, sir.
Proceed. Okay, madam. Okay, madam. So, dear participants, innovative technologies will make it possible to achieve this by providing new ways to teachers. But these new technologies are placing more demands on teachers to learn how to use them in their teaching and learning process. These great transformations imposing challenges to us in using technologies in creative and productive ways. Hence, we as the faculty members have to meet these new challenges by continuously acquiring new knowledge or skill to discharge our duties effectively. So, developing e-contents is an indispensable task to all of us. We know that UGC and NEC also encourage the teachers to develop the e-content in their fields. E-content is now a very powerful tool of education, which is valuable to the learners and also helpful to the teachers of all individuals' instruction systems. Therefore, e-content is like a product. All kinds of subject content you need to create and delivered through various electronic media. That is, we call it as e-content. If you go through the Oxford Dictionary, you can find the meaning of e-content as the digital text or digital images designed to display on the web pages. That is, we call it as e-content. First, you have to create or prepare the content of your presentation, then design images related to your content. If you need, finally go for the display on your web pages. Hello? I request you to mute your mobile phone. So the e-content can be any one information type. For example, fully textual, only graphic contents, or only audio content. That is, we call it as one information type. Another is that multimedia, hypermedia. That is mixing more than two information types. Say, for example, test with graphs. Test with graphs with audio, or video. So that is, we call it as multimedia or hypermedia. So all forms of digital informations that can be used for multi-purpose in different fields or different areas. So with all its images, sounds, and recorded heritage, internet-based e-content, which includes text, videos, audios, animations, and visual environment that can also be used. So this is what the thing. So e-content in education can be used for e-journals, e-books to e-research reports, e-lecture module, e-lecture notes, e-lecture slides. So e-content can be used for journals, for books, for research reports, for lectures modules, for lectures notes, for lecture slides. It can be used. So e-contents are available in a wide range of formats. The simplest one is ASCII standard test. So another we have is Adobe Portable and document format. Hello. Document formats, that is PDF, and LIT, Microsoft Reader's Literatures, and RTF rich text formats you can use, and Night Kitchen's Toolkit TK3. So that is also you can use. So another one is markup language. So hypertext markup language, you can use HTML, you can use, and SGML. So standard generalized markup language you can use. So extensible markup language you can use. So this is what thing. And software for PDAs such as AppDoc, ADoc for Palm Pilots, and Pocket Books, Palm Readers, Mubi Readers for Palm Handhelds, Handspring Wizards, and Windows CE devices you can use. So hyperlinking contents can be linked to other pages inside or outside the book. And another point is that non-linearity, the order of access that can be determined by the users. So addition of multimedia, content presentation can be enhanced by mixing information types, that is sound, videos, audios, like this. And data density, storage capacity may be decreased while at the same time increasing the portability. Then is searching, the usefulness of the content can be enhanced by the ability of the users to locate any piece of information or to access any sections instantly. So we have two types of e-contents. First one is assembled e-contents. That constitutes compiled and assembled from several resources available in the market, in the online markets, and books with due care taken for IPR, intellectual property rights, and copyright issues. Here, you will be main content providers. So content assembled will be given the credit as compiled by, as editor by, if edited. So another type of e-content is that created e-content. Content can be developed by the authors based on various sources as well as his own work. Here, the authorship will be of the content creators. The content developer has to provide the written material in a standard module format. So forms of e-contents are text, pictures, sounds, videos, animations, and presentation you can use. So e-content, the test, with regard to test is the most important element of any content. We know that can create test files through WordPad or MS Word to create formatted test. So you can save the test file as .txt, .doc, .htm, .pdf. You can save the files as .doc, .htm, .pdf. So as I already told you that test is the most important element of e-contents. First, you have to extract the exact points from your field, from your subjects, and prepare your contents. Then convert as digital form. That content should be converted into digital format. So the pictures can be added in various formats, as you know that .pmb, .gif, .jpg, .png. So .pmb is an uncompressed format that stores pictures in millions of colors. The computer professors, they can know. So .pmb is the best one. I can that stores pictures in millions of colors. And there are various formats of audios that can be used as part of e-contents. WAV is the most popular format of audio deployed in e-contents. This offers multi-track audio both in uncompressed, compressed, and sampling rates. So video, with regard to video is perhaps the most sensational medium in the e-content domain. With the recent breakthrough in compressions and streaming technologies, video has emerged as feasible e-content elements like other elements. So DTHL video also comes in many formats: .avi, .mov, .mpg, .rm, .wmv, .flv. So you can also use 2D, 3D animations that are very powerful communication in online educations. So you can use 2D, 3D videos. So new compressions technologies that helped animations become a regular part of all e-contents in the online education markets. So animation come in different formats. We know that. So electronic presentations have become standard tools and considered as good teaching and learning aid. So e-content design and development and approach will depend upon the nature of e-content, the learners, also another factors that determine the quality of e-contents. It will also depend on the quality and complexity the learning you wish to create. So this is thing. So the designing e-contents, we have some literatures. So the first model is that Dick and Carey design model, that is also known as system approach model. System approach model. So this model has 9 steps. So before we start, first we have to understand what is e-content. E-content is nothing but internet-based educations. You can define the term e-content as web-based learning, online learning, multimedia learning, or information and communication technologies, computer-based learning. You can say technology-enhanced learning, internet-based learning, computer-aided instructions. You can see. So in this model, we have 9 steps. The first step you have to do is, first you should assess niche in learning goals. You have to fix learning knowledge, attitudes of the learners. You should clarify. You should classify the learners that need to be able to succeed. The third step is that analyze learners and their context, and write some objectives based on the instructional analysis, and develop assessment instruments to measure the learner's ability to perform the objectives from the fourth step. So from the performance from writing the performance of the e-content objectives. Next, develop instructional strategies, including pre-instructional activities, instructions, practice and feedbacks, testing and follow-up activities you can identify. Then develop and select instructional materials, typically including a learner's manual, instructor's guides, multimedia, and assessments you have to do. And design and conduct a formative assessment to determine how to improve these instructions. This assessment can be one-on-one evaluations, small group of evaluations, or field evaluations. So that is the seventh step of Dick and Carey design model. The last one is that revise the instruction based on the data collected during the third step, during the 8th step. And the next model is that Hanafind and Peck model, which involves 3 essential stages that are. So first stage is that you should perform a needs assessment, then design your e-contents. Third stage is that develop and implement instructions. So this model was first introduced back in the year 1987, but it still remains an effective approach for designing comprehensive e-learning experience to these days. So all these, the stages or phases of this model involve a process of evaluations and revisions. First, you have to, if you adopt this model, you should perform a needs assessment, then design your e-content. Then finally, you develop and implement the instructions. So by applying this model in e-learning, evaluation is the part of the revision process that takes place after each phase. Thus, you can carefully analyze and assess every element of your e-learning program. So, in order to catch some, common errors, you can easily catch common errors. So, this model is particularly useful when you are dealing with the subject matters. Right. So, So this model is particularly useful when you are dealing with a subject matter that is more in depth or complex, as you have the ability to make the necessary revision as you go along. So, however, you can apply it in virtually any e-learning projects in order to stay on track or and achieve your performance goals. So then next model is that we call it as a KG model. So that introduced in the year 1986, that is ideally suited for e-learning projects with a smaller scopes, such as individual online trainings and activities and modules. So which has a stage process. First, in the stage one, first you have to identify the problems and set instructional goals. This is the first you identify the problem of preparing or designing e-content and fix some goals, instructional goals. So this is the first step. The second step is that design and develop objectives. So design some objectives of your presentations, then set some instructional objectives and specify some strategies in your presentations. And the third stage is that develop e-materials. So that is also very important thing. So develop e-material, that is the third stage. So extract the informations from your field, from the subjects, that convert as a digital form, in the digital form. So that can be used for individual lessons or modules, and focus on evaluation and development seems to come late in the process. So this is what the thing third. So e-learning industry, as we know, that follows certain standards for integrations, of course, where. So there are several standards available today for content integrations, interoperability. International bodies generally design and publish standards according to international organizations for standardizations, ISO. Define these as documented agreements containing technical specializations or other precise criteria to be used consistently as rules, guidelines, or definitions of characteristics to ensure that materials and products, processes and service are fit for their purpose. This is what the definition for standards of e-contents, are defined by ISO. So we have so many standard organizations. Standards can be maintained as per the shareable content object reference model. Aviation, as per you can go for aviation industry security committees regulations, or Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers IMS standards, Instructional Management System Global Learning Consortiums. You can go. So another thing is that we have three reusability of e-contents. The first, technical reusability of e-content. Technical reusability of e-content, that is concerned with various kinds of tools used to support e-contents. These tools may include documentation such as guidelines and instructions saved. And whereas non-technical reusability of e-contents, that is related to standardizations initiatives, intellectual property protections, knowledge transfers, and organizational, managerial, and social aspects of e-content. The third one is that pedagogy-related reusability of e-content. That includes content scenarios pedagogy approaches. E-content can be modified and reused easily. So we have three types of reusability of e-contents. So technical reusability of e-contents, non-technical reusability of e-contents, and pedagogy related reusability of e-contents. So for rapid creation of e-contents in the online market, in online educations, every step of the development process we needs to crunch time, and extracting information from the subject or field is an important step of e-learning developments. So with suitable interventions and empowering the subjects to do more, you can definitely get the best out of the subject interactions and create powerful e-learning. So I believe that adopting the cognitive theory for the developed e-contents had a more positive effects on student academic achievements than the standard e-contents. So effect on academic achievements than the standard e-contents, because the student memory is managed correctly to avoid unnecessary cognitive process. That's why I always say that adopting the cognitive theory for developed e-contents is which has more positive effect on the student academic performance. So this is my things. So I would like to stop with this. I would like to pen on open educational resources. If you go through open educational resource, I think this is a modern concept. If you go through the history, if you go to the literatures, so during the late 1960, with the effort of United Kingdom Open University, concept of open learning was initiated by them. This ideology of open learning later led to the open movement, I can say. Open educational resources are now the part of open movement, is that considered as the subset of open education. So it is recently developed concepts. So in the year 1999, some educational resources were released for free by the University of Tübingen, Germany, and the United Kingdom of Open University. In the beginning of 20th century, open educational resources initiative came from the MI of Technology USA by releasing the courses with open license. And the term open educational resource was coined in the year 2002 in the UNESCO forum on the impact of open courses were for higher education in developing countries. The Cape Town Open Educational Declaration in the year 2008 and Paris Open Educational Resource Declaration in the year 2012 that provided guidelines and encouragement to the governments to release educational resources with open license. So countries such as USA, South Africa, Kenya have successfully integrated the open educational resource into their national policies. So in India, in the year 2014, the National Mission on Education through ISCT released all the content generated with its funding as open educational resources and adopted an open license policy for all its output. So open educational resources are freely available. We can define as freely available resource education, online, freely available, openly licensed material, study materials, and media that can be useful, that are useful for teaching, learning, and assessing as well as for the research purpose. So open educational resources are freely available, openly licensed material and media that are useful for teaching, learning, and assessing as well as for the research purpose. So, wide variety of open educational resources is now available for free use for teachers, for tutors, for researchers, for students. It is gaining importance in open and distance learning domain. So the open educational resources now in the digital era that allows us to bring the excellent teaching learning materials into our education system and use them. So in India, National Council of Educational Research and Training, NCRT, digitalized all its textbook from first standard to 12th standard. So that the textbooks are also available in, online for free. Central Institute of Educational Technology, a constituent unit of National Council of Educational Research and Training, digitized more than 1,000 audios and videos programs. All the educational AV materials developed by Central Institute of Educational Technology is presently available at Sakshat portal. So that is, I can say, that is an initiative of Ministry of Human Resource Development. In addition to that, NRORE has a variety of e-contents. So that we have different. If you go through the literatures in open educational resources, there are plenty of benefits of open educational resources. The first one is that open educational resources are useful in improving education system. So that are useful in improving education across the globe. And they offer free access to some of the world's best courses, allows us to bring the excellent teaching learning materials into our education systems, and offers equal access to knowledge and reusability, and also provide self-paced learning. They offer flexibility in study time. Anywhere, anytime, the learners can study. The study can use the online course, can join the online course, and also provide access to huge amount of online materials, and helpful in enhancement of content knowledge. So accessible and affordable for all, I can say. So that are open educational resources are adaptable, allow others to reproduce them for their use. Helpful in advancing knowledge and widening participations. Helpful in one's own professional advancements, and that promotes and also promote a lifelong learning process. And bridging the gap among the formal, informal, and not formal educations, and also offers for sharing and reusing resources. So, open educational resources promote informal learning process that improves thinking power of the student. And the open educational resources universities is an education platform offering a number of mock-typed university level courses and programs. There are several courses offered on this platform. Some of these courses are courses offer credit towards further study. So this initiative is useful for individual interested in studying further, and to understand the global impact of open educational resources. The open educational resources impact map